Yo, everybody, welcome back to my TV program here on YouTube. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Naked Sun by Isaac Asimov. This is essentially book number 3 in his I, Robot universe. I've got them all right here. We've got book number 1, I, Robot. Book number 2, Caves of Steel. Both of those novels I have left reviews of on this channel. If you want to watch those reviews, just type in my last name, Durfee, the title of those books, and the review will magically appear upon your computer screen. Then we've got Robots of Dawn, book number 4, Robots and Empire, book number 5, and then the short story collections, Robot Dreams and Robot Visions right here. So let's get going. You know, we always talk about the covers first. This one, every single one of the books I have here has a great Michael Whelan painting on them. I love the Michael Whelan paintings because he's just a grandmaster science fiction and fantasy illustrator. And this has got another great painting of our two main characters there. On the planet Solarius. And we'll get to that. This book came out in 57. This cover was probably painted in the early 80s. So it's not the original cover illustration, but it is a Michael Whelan illustration, and it is super fucking dope. I love it. So 1957, book about robots. Now, if you watched my review on The Caves of Steel, you know that was about a very mystery novel-esque noir, like a very noir pulp fiction type mystery novel set in a future Earth where robots were almost like people. Well, it's a similar thing here. We've got our main characters, Lee Bailey, who is the human, and then R. Daniel Olivay, who is the robot. Let's talk about robots first. Isaac Asimov got these ideas for these books after coming across an old Russian play, or a Czechoslovakian play, that was done in 1921, and it was called R.U.R. Another word, but that was short for Rossum's Universal Robots. In fact, though, that's kind of where the word robot came from. It's a Czechoslovakian for robot is Czechoslovakian for compulsive labor or something like that. But anyway, the play was about these robots that were doing compulsive labor for humans, and they rebel and they kill the human species off, which tends to happen whenever robots and artificial intelligence are combined. Every movie, it's like Jurassic Park. We should know by now that every single amusement park that has been built on this planet by using DNA to recreate actual dinosaurs, it goes ass over teapot real quick. We don't want to do that. Same thing with robots and artificial intelligence. Whenever we've melded the two, at any point in time in our history, those robots eventually kill off the human species. It just happens. And it's going to happen again. And he's kind of predicting a lot of things in these books. So, not only that, but, think about Frankenstein. Kind of like the first ever robotic human. What did he do? He fucked up a lot of people. It's dangerous stuff. AI and robotics combined. It's going to be the end of us all. In Caves of Steel, it takes place on Earth. We got a policeman, Lee Bailey, and he is just like your typical New York City cop. But there's these spacers, and it's set in the future, so we've got spaceships and starships and things like that coming to and from Earth. And there's a murder mystery that he has to solve alongside a robot investigator. And actually, in that book, he's actually told you need to You need to solve the case before the robot solves the case, because if the robot solves the case before you solve the case, we don't even need police officers anymore. We can just use robots because they'll solve cases quicker. And so he was kind of like in a challenge, but they became friends. The robot and the man became friends. Now there's been a murder that's taken place on the planet of Solarius in this book. I love that word, Solaria. It's not Solarius. It's actually Solaria. I love that name for a planet. That's just a great name for a planet. I don't know why, but that just rolls off my tongue. Solaria rolls off my tongue. Solarius also sometimes rolls off my tongue. Anyway, I just like that. Anyway, but Solaria is a place, a planet where there's only 20,000 humans and about 200 trillion robots. So the robots outnumber the humans by a long shot. In fact, the humans are so sparse on this planet that they're not even really living near each other. They only communicate via Zoom, for lack of a better term. Zoom wasn't invented in 1957, but it essentially was in this book, because all the humans on Solaria speak to each other through a form of Zoom, believe it or not. I mean, Isaac Asimov was what was he, a prophet? I don't know. Anyway, so there's a murder that's taken place on this planet that's mostly inhabited by robots. In fact, there's never been a murder on this planet before. So the people in charge send their two best investigators, Lee Bailey, the human, and Daniel Olivway, the robot, and they go off on this space adventure. In fact, it's a one-of-a-kind space adventure, never been done before, to go solve a murder on a distant planet. And we get there, and things are different. Like I said, the humans have never met each other on this planet. They just talk via Zoom meeting. The robots are literally like ruling this planet. And then there's this murder. There's I'll just read the back. It gives a much better description than I'm getting. Okay. Murder in Paradise. Solaria was a beautiful planet, but a sparsely settled one. The Solarians had so isolated themselves that direct contact with others was almost unbearable, and all interpersonal dealings were conducted by solid-seeming trimensional projections. Zoom. And they got Zoom meetings. Okay, Asimov didn't know how to describe Zoom, and in 1980, when they were writing the jacket copy here, they didn't know how to describe Zoom, so they called Zoom solid-seeming trimensional projections. I imagine that's more of like the little Princess Leia thing that came out of R2-D2, the little trimensional projection. Anyway, you get the feel. Yeah, eventually our Zoom meetings will be trimensional projections. Now, there had been a murder. The victim had been so neurotic that even the presence of his wife was barely endurable. In other words, these humans that live on this planet, they're so few and far between that even the dude that finally married another gal was just freaked the fuck out because he couldn't be near another human. Anyway, but someone had been close enough to beat him to death while he was attended to by his robots. Naturally, the robots couldn't have done it. Oh, naturally. The first law of robotics would not let them harm a human being, and no weapons had been found. It seemed like a paradox. So the authorities sent Lee Bailey, who was delighted to find that his old partner, the robot Daniel Olivway, would join him. Their partnership was back in business, baby! And a strange business it was indeed. That's actually some pretty good fucking jacket copy. Except for the solid-seeming tridimensional projections, Zoom meetings. Anyway, this is a cool book. I actually really like this series of Isaac Asimov robots books way more than I'm finding I'm liking them way more than the Foundation series, actually. I think these are easier to read. They're easier to follow. They're simpler to read. They're just straightforward murder mysteries. They're delight. They're just an absolute delight. And they've all got these great Michael Whelan covers. So I'm going to give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. It was super cool. And, tune into the TV program tomorrow for another book review.